After waking up as the legitimate daughter of a marquise's household, a girl who was doomed to die young, I had planned to use the future I saw in my dreams to save my family in secret. Somehow, before I could say a word, father resigned from his post, my elder brother broke off his betrothal before dawn, and grandmother went even further. Before sunrise, she had servants carrying spades into the ancestral hall to pry up the third brick beside the offering table. I stared at them all, dumbfounded wait. That was not how this was supposed to go. Hey everyone, it is Xiao Yu. A woman wakes up as the doomed, legitimate daughter of a marquis household, the one who was supposed to die in 3 days. She has a plan, keep quiet, use her prophetic dreams to save her family from the shadows. Before she can say a word, her father resigns from his post, her elder brother breaks off his betrothal at dawn, and her grandmother starts prying up bricks in the ancestral hall. Because the entire family has been standing outside her door every night, listening to her sleep talk. Let's go. On my first night in the Marquis of Xuanping's residence, I dreamed of disaster. Not one person in the family escaped it. Father collapsed in the Imperial Examination Hall. Unfinished papers still spread across his desk. My elder brother's carriage overturned on a snowy slope, a red lantern rolling through the mud below. Mother lay slumped over a table buried beneath ledgers, while the chest that held her dowry account stood so empty the wind could have nested inside it. Grandmother was the last alone. She rushed into the ancestral hall without even her cane and dropped to her knees on the cold stone floor, beating desperately at the bricks. The third brick to the left of the offering table. Then came the final image. Mere snow fell beyond the window. I lay in bed, choking on the bitter reek of medicine. Someone was crying, someone was calling my name. I could not even lift my eyelids. Then I woke. I stared up at the bed, curtains embroidered with plum branches for 3 heartbeats. My first thought was not fear. It was that I wanted to curse someone, 3 months earlier when I had read the household tale that contained this family. I had privately wondered whether the Shens had offended the keeper of the Book of Fate. Their deaths were almost offensively neat, splendid. Now the storyteller had tucked me neatly into the same doomed household. My lady, a maid in a pale blue vest, rushed to the bedside. Her eyes were red enough to suggest she had been weeping for hours. You are finally awake. Her ladyship watched over you for half the night. Nanny only just persuaded her to rest. Qingde, the instant. I heard the name Shen Jiwei's memories crashed into me. The legitimate daughter of the Marquis of Xuanping, frail since childhood. On the 8th day of the 12th month, she had accompanied her grandmother outside the city to honor the ancestors. She returned with a worsening chill and died only days later. I turned my head stiffly. What day is it? Qingde answered at once. The 8th day of the 12th month. I shut my eyes. Wonderful. I had arrived with the sands of my life already running out. Footsteps sounded outside. My mother, Su Lingyi, came in almost at a run. The moment she saw me awake, tears spilled from her eyes, though the hand she placed against my forehead remained steady. Do you still feel unwell? My head aches. My chest feels tight. I have no strength. I listed everything in one breath. Su Lingyi froze. So did Qingdai. I knew why. The original Shen Jiwei had answered almost everything with the same words. I am fine, dizzy? She was fine. Feverish? Fine. Black spots swimming before her eyes after 2 steps. Still fine. As if being obedient enough might shame her frail body into healing itself, it had not. The older maid beside mother lowered her voice. The old madam has already ordered the carriage prepared. Today is the ancestral rite, and the second branch is waiting in the front court if my lady can endure just a little. I cannot. I answered so quickly that the rest of her sentence died in her throat. Mother looked down at me. I coughed once and burrowed deeper beneath the quilt with perfect righteousness. Mother, I am not going today. At that very moment the curtain lifted, and second Aunt Chow entered with a sweet smile. Sister-in-law, you mustn't indulge Jiwei too much. It is only an offering of incense. She will ride in a carriage, not walk all the way there. A young lady cannot be so delicate. I looked at her. She looked at me. Then I smiled. Second aunt is quite right. Her expression relaxed. So I must trouble second aunt to kowtow 2 extra times on my behalf. The room went silent. Her smile stopped on her face with remarkable grace. I pulled the quilt higher. Second aunt is strong and healthy. Surely our ancestors will not object if you show a little more devotion for me. Chingde lowered her head to hide a laugh. Her shoulders even shook. Second aunt's face finally hardened. Jiwei, illness is no excuse for endless willfulness. If the old madam blames you, I will ask forgiveness myself. I met her eyes after I recover on foot. That stopped her cold. I turned and caught mother's hand. And please send for a physician from outside the household. Not the one who has been treating me all this time. Sulingi hesitated. Why? Because after all his treatment, I have only grown weaker. It was blunt, but I had no patience left for delicate phrasing. My life was being measured in days. Courtesy could wait until I survived. Mother studied me for a moment, then abruptly pushed the fox fur cloak back into the maid's arms. We are not going. Second aunt blinked. Sister-in-law, Jiwei has a fever. What ancestral right is more important than that? Mother's voice was gentle, but her decision was iron. I will explain to mother myself. I could not help looking up at her. In the tale, I remembered only one line about Shulingi. The Marchioness fell ill from years of exhaustion. But standing before me now, she was no line on a page. She could cry. She could worry. And when her daughter said, I don't want to go, she could place herself squarely in front of her and say no for her. My nose stung. After second aunt left, mother pinched my cheek. How did one illness give you such a temper? I answered with complete sincerity. Perhaps coming close to death clarified a few things. Her face changed at once. I immediately shut my mouth. Excellent. My first day in this story. And I had already frightened my own mother twice. The elderly physician summoned from the southern quarter arrived soon afterward. He examined the old prescriptions, took my pulse, and frowned more deeply with every passing moment. This is no grave illness. Her constitution is weak, and she has been overnourished with tonics. What she must avoid now is cold and exhaustion. He glanced at the snow outside and added without ceremony, had she truly been dragged outside the city for half a day today, I would have been astonished if she returned without falling seriously ill. Mother went pale. Under my quilt, I silently awarded myself one small victory. At least I had stepped around the first snare. That evening grandmother did not come to rebuke me. Instead, she sent a warm jade hand brazier and one message. If you are ill, rest. If our ancestors truly protect their descendants, they will not quarrel with a sick girl over one stick of incense. I held the little brazier for a long time without speaking. Why then had the Shen Jiwei in the original tale gone? Perhaps no one had truly forced her. Perhaps she had simply grown accustomed to pleasing everyone else before asking herself whether she was in pain. That night after my medicine, I slept deeply and dreamed of Father. The lamps in the examination hall burned dimly. He sat at his desk coughing so violently that his shoulders shook, one hand clenched around a handkerchief. Someone outside urged him to finish reviewing the papers. Father merely folded the cloth, set it aside, and picked up his brush again. I paced around him in helpless fury. Stop reading. Father, you can barely sit upright. Why are you still marking papers? That physician's note in the third drawer of your study is practically growing mold. Do you truly think no one in this family has eyes? I lunged for his brush, but my hand passed straight through the desk. The next moment, the great doors of the examination hall opened. Father was carried out between two men. Mother stood below the steps, her face white with terror. Rewoke with a start. Qingdai. No answer. Yet I thought I heard the faintest footstep beyond the door. Me mind was still muddled with sleep, so I thought no more of it and drifted off again. The next morning I went to the main hall for breakfast. I had barely sat down when Father Shen Jingchuan said calmly, I have withdrawn from serving as an examiner in this year's imperial examinations. Clink. Me spoon dropped straight into my bowl of congee. A drop splashed onto my sleeve. I did not even wipe it away. You did what? I sent the memorial last night. He spoke as though he had merely dispatched an ordinary note before bed. I stared at him for a long moment. Only one thought remained in my head. I had not even had time to save him. How had he gone and saved himself first? After breakfast, I chased him all the way to his study. Father, why did you resign? My health. What is wrong? Is the cough bad? Isn't the physician's note still hidden in the third drawer? I stopped so sharply, I nearly bit my tongue. Father stopped too. The air between us froze solid. I scrambled for a rescue. I mean, your complexion looks poor. Shen Jingquan watched me for a long while, then asked, Did you sleep well last night? My heart gave an ugly little thump. Very well. Any nightmares? Number, he nodded. If you have one in the future, there is no need to be afraid. Then he walked into his study. I stood beneath the covered corridor, feeling more suspicious by the heartbeat. When I turned, I almost collided with Qingdai. The moment she saw me, she actually took one step back. I narrowed my eyes. What did you hear last night? Nothing at all. Truly, truly. Then why did you step back? Qingdai hesitated, then whispered. My lady was slightly loud in her sleep. How loud? Perhaps half the courtyard. Darkness nearly swallowed my vision. A laugh sounded behind me. You've only just recovered, and you are already standing in the wind interrogating your maid. A warm hand brazier was pressed into my hands. I turned and saw my elder brother, Shen Huaijin, standing below the steps. His eyes and brows resembled father's, though his expression was considerably more provoking. Seeing my guarded face only deepened his smile. I heard you left second aunt unable to answer a single word yesterday. Who complained? The entire household knows. I said nothing marvelous. Me first reputation in the Marquise's residence was apparently the sick girl who nearly choked second aunt on her own words. My brother ruffled my hair. Good. I stared at him. From now on, if you feel unwell, say so, he told me. The honor of the Marquise's household does not rest upon you suffering in silence. I lowered my eyes and tightened my fingers around the brazier. My nose stung again in the tail after Shen Jiwei died. Shen Huaijin did not enter his sister's courtyard for a very long time. When I had first read that 2 words had been enough. Grief-stricken. No, he stood alive in front of me, and I finally understood how heavy 2 little words could become when they fell upon a real person. I sniffed and hurriedly changed the subject. Brother, aren't you discussing a betrothal? He raised a brow. Since when do you concern yourself with my marriage? Since just now. Chao Lingyi, second aunt's niece from her maiden family. In the original tale, after brother married her, the Chao family's merchant houses slowly dragged him into their old debts. In the end, he lost even his own property trying to keep them afloat. I could not remember every detail. But I remembered one thing, a surety bond. I looked up. What if the marriage papers come with some other contract attached? His expression shifted slightly. What do you mean? I mean, I forced myself onward. You are marrying Miss Chao, not 3 Chao shops and 2 piles of old debt. Try not to bow at the wedding and carry home their account books with the bride. Shen Huaijin stared at me for a long moment. Then he laughed. One illness, and now you know how to lecture your elder brother. He said that. Yet, that very afternoon, I saw him heading toward the counting room. Only then did I breathe a little easier. That night, as expected, I dreamed again. Snow had buried the road. A carriage lay shattered at the foot of a slope. Brother leaned against its broken frame, gripping a contract so tightly, his knuckles had gone white. One line stood out clearly. If the Chao trading house fails to discharge its debt, the guarantor shall repay the balance. I almost sobbed myself breathless in the dream. Don't sign it. Brother, that is not a marriage contract. Why should you stake your life on whether their shops prosper or fail? I woke crying and seized Qingdai as she rushed inside. Where is brother? Her face stiffened. Ichi didn't come. I stared at her. Qingdai, yes, my lady. Lie to me again, and tomorrow I will send you to sweep courtyards." Her mouth turned down. A soft cough came from outside. "Don't frighten her." Shen Huaijin stepped through the door in an outer robe, holding a contract folded into a perfect square. "The Chow family sent this today." I looked down Chow Silk House. Guarantor's signature required exactly the same as in my dream. My mind rang like a struck bell. Brother looked at me. "You dreamed that I signed it." I said nothing. He did not press me. He merely folded the paper again. "Sleep, brother. Tomorrow I will ask them myself." He left the residence before dawn. I did not sleep at all. The next morning, just as the sun rose, hoofbeats thundered outside the courtyard. Shen Huaijin strode in with snow clinging to his cloak and slapped a brocade box onto the table. The lid sprang open. Inside lay the returned betrothal papers. I stared. The Chow family agreed. He removed his cloak. If a marriage is to happen, I should be the one who says yes. Now I no longer want it. I should also be the one who says no. The stone pressing on my chest suddenly felt much lighter. I had barely begun to feel moved when an elderly maid hurried in from outside. "Young master, my lady, the old madam has sealed the ancestral hall, and she has ordered the servants to bring spades." My teacup trembled in my hand. "Where is she digging?" The maid gasped for breath. "The third brick to the left of the offering table." Brother and I turned to each other at the same time. Wonderful, apparently more than one person had been lurking outside my walls last night. By the time I reached the ancestral hall, the courtyard was crowded. Father, mother, and brother were all there. Second uncle Shen Jingming and second Aunt Chow stood on the other side, each wearing a more complicated expression than the last. Grandmother sat beneath the covered walk with her cane in hand, looking as calm as though she had merely ordered someone to dig up a flower bed. Third brick left of the offering table. The servants exchanged glances. No one dared move first. At last second, Uncle could bear it no longer. "Mother, this is the ancestral hall. To pry up the floor without cause, if word gets outside." Grandmother did not even lift her eyelids. "I am not dead yet. You need not guard my dignity for me." Second uncle flushed. I lowered my head before the corners of my mouth betrayed me. Grandmother glanced my way. I immediately arranged my face into something more solemn than the ancestral tablets. "Dig." Iron bit into the mortar. The first brick came up, dirt beneath. The second, more dirt. When the third was lifted, one servant made a startled sound. There was no earth beneath it. There was a narrow wooden box. Me palms went damp at once. That was it. In the dream, grandmother had been alone in the empty hall, beating at the floor like a woman gone mad, searching for that box. No one had been there beside her. But now father stood to my left. Mother was just behind me. Brother even reached out and nudged me half a step away from the draft. The push made me stumble. I turned and glared at him. He murmured, "Stand properly." I stared at him. Fine, my tender feelings lasted half a heartbeat. The wooden box was carried to grandmother. She broke the blackened wax seal with her own hands. There was no silver inside, no jewels, only a stack of yellowed papers. The words at the top read deed of division. Second uncle's face changed. Grandmother turned the pages one by one. 2 shops in the southern quarter. Several parcels of farmland outside the capital. A residence in the south, the silver and estate deeds allotted to the second branch years ago. Every item was recorded in plain detail. The final page bore the late Marquise's private seal and the signatures of 2 clan elders. The 2 branches were to manage their own property, bear their own profits and losses, and never use the private debts of one branch to burden the other. Second uncle looked up. "When did father draw this up?" "The year you married," grandmother said. "Then why have we never seen it?" Wind moved through the hall, whispering over the old paper. Grandmother held the deed in both hands and was silent for a long time, because I suppressed it. The courtyard fell utterly still. Second uncle stared. Even second aunt had no ready answer. Grandmother did not hide from the truth, nor did she place the blame on a dead man who could no longer answer. "Your father was gravely ill then. He feared that one day the title and the family estate would breed resentment between his sons. So he divided everything in advance. Your elder brother would inherit the marquisate. You received more liquid wealth and shops. The old clan registers can prove it. But I always felt you had been given less. Her voice slowed as she looked at her younger son. When your ventures lost money, I made your brother cover the shortfall. When your residence needed repairs, I said the common purse should pay. When your wife's family had trouble, I made the elder branch help. I kept telling myself that brothers born of one mother should not divide things too cleanly, or we would cease to be a family. Second uncle's lips moved. The second branch has not only taken all these years. I know, grandmother cut him off. You have your own property. You have also done work for this household, so I did not call everyone here to count how much you stole. She lowered her eyes to the deed. I called you here to admit my own mistake. I should never have hidden this. My nose stung without warning. Those words, I was wrong, weighed more coming from her than any condemnation could have. In my dream, she had understood only at the very end. By then, no one had been left to hear her. Now it was different. The whole family stood here in one piece. Even I, who should have been the first to vanish, was still among them. I was secretly sniffing when brother leaned close and murmured, crying, "Number your eyes are red." The wind. He looked pointedly at the ancestral hall, with walls on every side and a roof overhead. I gave him a cold look. Have you nothing to do today? He wisely shut his mouth. Second aunt suddenly laughed. Mother, these matters are decades old. We have lived well together all these years. Why wound the harmony of the household over a few pieces of old paper? She paused, then continued. And Huaijin has only just broken off his engagement with Lingyi. If we begin discussing divided property now, who knows what people outside will say about the Marquise's residence? I opened my mouth. Brother spoke first. What has my marriage to do with this deed? Second aunt faltered. Shen Huaijin remained perfectly calm. If they have nothing to do with one another, why are you so determined to speak of them in the same breath? Second uncle's face darkened. Huaijin, is that how you address an elder? Father finally spoke. He is not wrong. His voice was quiet. Second uncle fell silent at once. I stole a glance at father. Most days he was a blade sheathed so well that no one remembered it could cut. But when the blade came free, one sentence was usually enough. Xin Jingchuan stepped toward grandmother. Mother, there is no need to reopen every old debt today. But from this day forward, what should be separate must be kept separate. Second uncle's face grew darker. Elder brother, all this because of one dream Zhu Wei had. He stopped mid-sentence. My head snapped around. What dream? The ancestral hall became so quiet I could have heard ash fall from the incense burner. Father looked away. Mother adjusted her sleeve. Brother studied the roof. Grandmother closed her eyes. I narrowed mine. Excellent. This was no longer suspicion. I had caught the entire household red-handed. So, I said very slowly, all of you heard me. No one answered. I looked at Qingdai. She dropped her head at once. Traitor, grandmother beckoned. Zhu Wei, come here. I did not move. Grandmother answers first. Brother burst out laughing. I wheeled on him. What are you laughing at? Nothing. He struggled to compose his face. Only that your courage seems to have recovered along with your health. I shall dream again tonight. His smile vanished instantly. Much better. Even grandmother failed to hide a laugh. Come here. This time I went. She patted the back of my hand. Do not be afraid. No one here thinks you some unnatural creature. Your father did not abandon his post because of one sentence you muttered in a dream. His health truly is poor. The physician has warned him for some time. He simply kept delaying. Father's expression tightened slightly. Grandmother glanced at him. Did I speak falsely? Number Huaijin ended his engagement because he read the surety bond himself and went to the Chow family to ask questions. Brother nodded. As for the box, I buried it with my own hands. Grandmother's voice was calm. You merely shouted aloud the things we already knew and had refused to face. My throat tightened. Then exactly how much did you hear? Mother coughed softly. Father found the opposite wall fascinating. Again, brother rubbed his nose. Grandmother answered without shame. You were crying loudly enough for half the courtyard to hear. My vision dimmed. Half the courtyard. Qingdai, apparently determined to finish me, whispered, during the first half of the night, perhaps half later, possibly a little farther. I turned my head toward her. She shut her mouth at once. I drew a long breath. From now on, none of you are allowed to listen. Brother finally laughed aloud. Very well, very well. Your brother will never stand outside your door again. I believed him. The next night, I opened my door. There was a cushioned couch outside. Beside it stood a brazier. The couch had a thick blanket and a hand warmer too. It was better supplied than my own room. I stared at Qingdai without expression. She whispered. Young master said, standing in the cold was uncomfortable. I was silent for a long time. Where is he? He said, it is not his turn tonight. Whose turn is it? Mother's warm voice drifted from beneath the window. Jwei, the night is cold. Shut the door. I had no words. There was no saving this family. For all my complaining, that night I still told them about the dreams. I did not, under any circumstances, tell them that I had fallen into a story I had once read. I only said that lately I had been seeing dreams so vivid they felt like things that had not yet happened, though perhaps they were only nightmares. I did not know why they came. I had prepared a whole storehouse of explanations. Perhaps I had been thinking too much before sleep. Perhaps fever had unsettled my mind. Father listened to all of that and asked only, besides me, Huaijin, and your grandmother, who else have you dreamed about? My mouth opened. Mother. Sulingi looked at me. Suddenly I could not bring myself to say it. In the dream she had looked so tired over those ledgers, as though she had carried the whole Marquise's household alone until her back could no longer straighten. Mother reached for my hand first. Tell me. I saw you looking over accounts. Your dowry register was beside you, and the chest was empty. The warmth in her eyes slowly faded. I hurried to add, it might not be real, Father said. Whether the dreams are prophecy or nothing more than dreams can wait. I looked up. Shen Jingchuan faced the room. Zhiwei said there was a physician's note hidden in the third drawer of my study. There is. I could not help muttering, it was not hidden very well. Father looked at me. I closed my mouth. Huaijin's surety bond exists. The deed beneath the ancestral hall was buried by Mother herself. These matters were already here, whether Zhiwei dreamed of them or not. But if from now on we wait for her dreams to tell us every fault in this household, that would be true folly. A dreadful suspicion rose in me. Father turned to the steward of accounts. The Marquise's household will put its own affairs in order. I asked without thinking, put what in order? The accounts. Half an hour later, 11 ledgers sat in front of me. I regretted everything deeply. Shen Huaijin stood nearby with his arms folded, grinning. I thought you wanted to save the whole family. I glared at him. Why does saving the family require me to learn accounts? Because you do not even know how much silver this family spends in a year. I can choose not to save you. Too late. Mother pushed the thinnest volume toward me. Begin with this one. I looked down, then up again. Mother, I truly do not know how. Then learn. I appealed to grandmother with my eyes. She drank her tea. Do not look at me. You summoned this lesson yourself. So this was the hidden price of being doted upon by the whole family. I accepted my fate and opened the ledger end. After a while, I actually began to see the problem. The Marquise Xuanping's household was not poor. There were ancestral farms and shops, father's salary from office, and mother's considerable dowry, yet silver seemed to sprout legs and walk away. The second branch had long ago received its own property, but whenever its ventures ran short, money still came from the common purse. When the Chow family needed help, the residents advanced funds. When some clan relation needed repairs, a wedding feast, or a temporary loan, Grandmother heard the words, "We are all one family," and usually nodded. Worst of all, many entries recorded that money had been lent, but none recorded when it was to be returned. After several pages, I could bear no more. "What sort of account book is this?" Mother smiled. "What would you call it?" "A ledger of good deeds." Brother nearly spat out his tea. Father raised a fist to hide a cough. Grandmother slowly lowered her cup. Only then did I look up. "Disaster." Grandmother: "I did not mean you. You meant me." I lowered my head. "Not entirely. Shenjiwei." "Yes, look at me." I obediently raised my head. Grandmother watched me for a long moment, then sighed. "You are not wrong." The room fell still. She turned to the steward. "From this day forward, keep separate books for the elder branch. The second branch, the common household purse, and each person's private property. There is no need to chase every old debt at once. First make the new accounts clear." I blinked. Brother reached over and tapped the ledger in front of me with one knuckle. "See that?" "See what?" "One little ledger of good deeds. And Grandmother has remade the counting room." I lowered my voice quickly. "Say less." "Grandmother can hear you." Without lifting her head, Grandmother said, "I heard." Brother and I both went silent. That evening, Shen Huaijin brought someone else to the residence. Pei Yunzhou, the second son of the Earl of Yongning. My hand paused when I heard the name. I remembered him. After the Shen family fell in the original tale, someone had once remarked if the Shens had listened to second young master Pei sooner, they might never have come to this. That was all Won line. Then he vanished from the story. I had imagined him rather mysterious. Now, seeing the man himself, my first thought was simple. He looked very much like a decent man. Unfortunately, the illusion ended as soon as he opened his mouth. After paying his respects to father and grandmother, his gaze fell on the ledger in my arms. "Miss Shen reads accounts as well," I answered without changing expression. "I cannot understand them." He paused. I added, "I am presently pretending that I can." Shen Huaijin turned his face away to laugh. Pei Yunzhou smiled too. "Convenient. I came today precisely to expose people who are pretending to understand things." I raised my eyes to him. Excellent. His very first sentence was disagreeable. My judgment proved sound. He took the Chow family surety bond, read it for a short while, then asked Brother, "You intended to sign this?" Shen Huaijin was silent. Pei Yunzhou nodded. "Then heaven must have given you an unusually sturdy life." Brother's face darkened. "Speak plainly." "Plainly, the Chow Silk House already carries older debts. Once your name goes on this bond, if the principal debtor cannot repay, the creditors may lawfully seek payment from you." Second aunt was there as well. She immediately said, "Yanzhou." That makes it sound far worse than it is. The two families were to be joined in marriage. A marriage rests upon mutual trust. Surely the Chow family would never truly ask Huaijin to fill its losses. Pei Yunzhou did not argue with her. He did not even bother with lofty reasoning. He looked at Brother and asked, "Do you wish to bear the debt?" "Number then, that is enough." Second aunt's expression changed. "Can marriage be reduced to silver?" Brother replied calmly, "If silver has nothing to do with it, why was a surety bond added beside the marriage papers?" Second aunt had no answer. I sat to one side, very nearly slapping the table in applause. Fortunately, I remembered in time that I was the legitimate daughter of a marquise's house. I restrained myself. After everyone else left, I remained bent over the contract, studying it. I knew every character on the page. Joined together, they might as well have belonged to a foreign kingdom. Pei Yunzhou had not gone yet. He stood beside me for a while, then said, "You may stare at it for the length of another incense stick. It still will not explain itself." I looked up. "Why are you still here?" "It seems Miss Shen cannot bear to part with me." "I cannot bear to part with someone who can read this cursed thing. That is somehow more hurtful." He pointed to a line here. I followed his finger. "What does it mean?" "If the Chow trading house cannot repay, the guarantor must. These later properties are tied together as security. So if your brother signs, He will not merely be rescuing one silk shop. I frowned. Do many people sign agreements like this, Manny, because they cannot read them? Not necessarily. Then why sign? Pei Yanzhou folded the paper again. Because when most people put brush to paper, they look at the person handing them the contract, not at the words written upon it. I went quiet. He studied me. What is it? I came back to myself and shook my head. Nothing. But I was thinking of father, mother, grandmother, and brother. They were not foolish. They simply swallowed too many necessary questions whenever someone said, "We are family." I looked up. Second young Master P. Will you teach me to read contracts? He raised a brow. Why? Because next time someone digs a pit beneath my feet, I do not want to wait for you to come point at it. He watched me for 2 heartbeats, then smiled. Very well. But one condition. What? I do not teach fools. I stared at him. How fortunate. I do not study under sharp-tongued teachers either. Beside us, Shen Huaijin silently looked upward. I turned. Brother, what are you looking at? The heavens. We are indoors. I fear that if I laugh aloud, you will hold a grudge. I smiled coldly. Excellent. Every one of them had earned a place in my private book of grievances. The next day, brother delivered me to a paper and ink shop owned by Pei Yanzhou. Delivered was the polite word. Escorted under guard felt more accurate. I was still protesting inside the carriage. I have only just recovered. Shen Huaijin nodded. That is why I did not make you walk. I feel somewhat dizzy today. You showed no sign of dizziness while eating 2 pieces of osmanthus cake a moment ago. I fell silent. Brother lifted the carriage curtain. Anything else? I have suddenly remembered that account books are ruinous to the eyes. Pei Yanzhou told me you held a contract upside down yesterday. I doubt your eyes can suffer much greater injury. I snapped my head up. He told you that. Brother smiled with terrible gentleness. He did. I made a decision on the spot. Today I would anger Pei Yanzhou at least 3 times. The paper and ink shop was small but immaculate. Pei Yanzhou was reading accounts in the inner room when I entered. He merely lifted his eyes. You came. You sound disappointed. I am. Why? I fear that once you begin calculating, my profits will steadily disappear. First offense, I remembered it. He pushed 3 old account books toward me. Calculate. I looked at the books, then at him. Is one word all the instruction your pupils receive? Did you not say yesterday that you would not study under a sharp-tongued teacher? And I am speaking less, out of consideration for you. I drew a deep breath. My plan to anger him 3 times could wait. At this rate, I would expire fury first. I worked from morning until afternoon. At first, I felt rather confident. The farther I went, the stranger the numbers became. At last I stared at my result in profound silence. According to my calculations, the paper shop had not merely failed to earn money last year. It somehow owed itself more than 100 taels of silver. I looked up. Pei Yanzhou. Was this shop on the brink of closing last year? He raised his eyes. Number. Then your accounts are wrong. Is it possible that you are wrong? Impossible. Pei Yanzhou came over and turned 2 pages. Then he became silent. My confidence wavered. What? He picked up a vermilion brush and circled a number on the first page. Here. What about it? You recorded incoming stock as outgoing stock. I said nothing. He was exquisitely courteous. From this point onward, you killed 3 of my shops with your arithmetic. He crept slowly up my face. Yet, they are still open. Thanks to Miss Shen's mercy, they survive for the moment. I dropped my brush. I am done learning. Pei Yanzhou laughed. Their fools are usually like this. Like what? One mistake and they run. I turned around and sat back down. Who is running? Sit. I am already sitting. He pushed the ledger back toward me. If the root is wrong, every branch after it grows crooked, correct the first mistake before doubting everything that follows. I calculated again. The second attempt went much more smoothly. More than an hour later, I finished the final line. When I looked up, he was standing by the window with another ledger winter light, rested along the side of his face. When he was quiet, he was considerably less irritating. I looked for perhaps 2 heartbeats. Without raising his eyes, Pei-Yun-jo said, "If you continue staring, I shall charge you." I looked away at once. "Who was staring at you?" Excellent, second offense. Also remembered. Before I left, he suddenly asked, "Has the Marquise's residence begun separating its accounts?" I became alert. "How do you know?" "Every question you asked today concerned the common purse, private property, and how contracts divide liability." "Only from that. Also, because young Master Shen came early this morning to ask me not to teach you anything too difficult. He feared you might go home and have nightmares. I had no words. I knew it. The least valuable possession in the Shen household was my privacy. I asked casually, 'Your family does not separate property.' 'We do, so cleanly. Mine is mine, the elder branches is theirs.' He said it as though it required no explanation. A few days ago, my elder brother wanted me to sell one of my shops so the elder branch could buy another residence. Did you agree? Number, was he not angry?" "He was." I blinked. Pei-Yun-jo looked at me. "What? You knew he would be angry and still refused." "His anger and my obligation to give him my shop are 2 different matters." For once I had no answer. He narrowed his eyes. "Do not tell me this is the first time you have heard anyone say such a thing. It is not." "Then why do you look as though someone struck you with a staff?" I was thinking. I paused. "With a temper like yours, it is remarkable that you survived childhood." He laughed. "I shall accept the compliment." That night I dreamed again. This time it was Mother. She lay over a table buried in ledgers, her face frighteningly pale. Her dowry chest stood open beside her, almost empty. An older maid was crying, "My lady, if you keep filling these losses, even the shops from your dowry will be gone." Mother only shook her head. "The Marquise's household cannot fall." In the dream, I shoved desperately at her shoulders. "Mother, that is your silver. Help them if you wish. But why must it always be you? If you collapse, who will save you?" I woke crying, my lashes wet. Outside the door, all was quiet. I exhaled in relief. At last. These people had finally learned to respect another person's dreams. Then Mother's gentle voice came from beneath the window. "Jiwei." I closed my eyes. "I heard you." Despair claimed me completely. Not only had the couch outside my door remained, what had begun as a makeshift listening post had become a regular night watch. The next morning, I cornered Mother in her inner room. "Where are your dowry ledgers?" Sulingi was still drinking tea. She looked up. "You have only just awakened, and this is what you ask." "Yes, eat first. After, I see them. Your stomach is weak." "Then I shall eat while reading." Mother sighed. "Shen Jiwei." I sat straight. "Your daughter is here." A short while later, 6 dowry ledgers lay in front of me. Mother one. I was also eating breakfast. With one hand I held a steamed bun, with the other I turned pages. By the 3rd ledger, the bun no longer tasted good. This entry, "A loan to the 2nd branch?" This one, "Repairs to the clan school?" And this, "Your second aunt's maiden family had a wedding and needed ready silver." I put down the bun. "Why does none of this have a date for repayment?" Mother said nothing. I continued turning pages. The more I read, the angrier I became. What troubled me most was not even the amount. Beside every entry were words like temporary advance, short-term circulation paid first on their behalf, as though changing the name could make silver that left the chest somehow not truly leave. Mother. After marrying Father, did you decide your dowry simply became part of the household purse? Sulingi frowned. Husband and wife are one. Then may you take Father's private property whenever you like and send it to the Sepsu family. She paused. Is second aunt's maiden family's wedding also your wedding? Should every clansman who lacks silver naturally come to you? Mother did not know whether to laugh or scold me. What a way you have of putting things. Then I am right. I snapped the ledger shut. Husband and wife may be one, but you cannot be the only person responsible for being that one. The room went silent. Footsteps sounded outside. I stiffened. Mother looked up too. Father entered. My first instinct was to hide the ledger. My hand even moved. Then I stopped. Forget it. They had heard all my dream babbling. What dignity remained to protect? Shen Jingchuan sat beside the table. Continue. I looked at him. Are you certain? Yes. Then do not be angry when I speak. You have come this far already. Very well. From now on, Mother's dowry accounts should be separate from the Marquise's common purse. We need not recover every old payment, but at least record clearly who took what, for what purpose, and whether it was a gift or a loan. And I glanced at Father. You must stop assuming Mother will fill every shortfall. Silence. Belatedly, I grew nervous. I was about to soften my words when Father said, Agreed. I stared. He turned to Mother. Ling Yi, these years I have indeed grown accustomed to you making up whatever the household lacked. That was my fault. Mother's eyes immediately reddened. I stared too. I had expected at least a few rounds of argument. Instead, Father admitted fault faster than I could turn a page, suddenly unsure what to do. I reached under the table, stole another steamed bun, and stuffed it into my mouth. A dignified way to survive the awkwardness. Father continued, if the common purse runs short in future, the common household will solve it. Your dowry belongs to you. You decide how it is used. Mother lowered her head for a long while, then smiled softly. Good. I was just beginning to feel moved when Father looked at me. Did you not say you would eat after you finished reading? My mouth was full of bun. I froze. So his memory worked perfectly when it was least convenient. That afternoon, the counting room opened new books. The Elder Branch, Second Branch, Common Household, Mother's Dowry, and Brother's Private Property were all recorded separately. 3 days later came the first true clash. Second Aunt went to the counting room for silver, saying her maiden family's shop needed money to keep trade moving. The steward checked the books. Second Madam, the sum lent to the Second Branch last month has not yet been returned. The old Madam has ordered that until an old loan is settled. No new loan is to be taken from the common purse. Second Aunt's face fell at once. I am taking a little silver from my own family home, since when must a mere steward question me? If it were from the Second Branch's private account, I would not stop you, the steward replied politely. But this is the Marquise's common purse. Mother and I happened to enter then. Second Aunt saw me at once. A bad feeling crept over me naturally. Shiwei, are these new rules you're doing? Before I could answer, Mother said, we decided them together. Second Aunt smiled. A young lady who calculates silver too finely may find her husband's family calling her ungenerous one day. I smiled too. Then all the better. She paused. I shall not marry anyone who considers me ungenerous for guarding what is mine. Her smile vanished completely. Beside me, Mother's shoulders trembled with a suppressed laugh. On the way back, however, she still lectured me. Do not keep saying you will refuse to marry. Why? A young lady should speak with more restraint. Do you think what I said was wrong? Mother fell silent. I stared at her. At last she sighed. Number not wrong. I was satisfied at dinner that night. Brother had somehow heard the whole affair. He had barely sat down when he asked, I heard you declared today that you would never marry a man who called you ungenerous. Yes. Good. I narrowed my eyes. What are you trying to say? Nothing. He slowly picked up a piece of food with his chopsticks. Only that Peiyanzhou might suit you rather well. My chopstick struck the rim of my bowl with a sharp crack. The whole table looked at me. Without changing expression, I said, my hand slipped. Brother laughed so hard his shoulders shook. I stamped on his foot beneath the table. The next day, I carried all that irritation to the paper shop and laid it at Peiyanzhou's door. The moment he saw me, he asked, "Who angered you?" "No one." "It is written on your face." "What is?" "You are searching for someone upon whom to spend your temper." I dropped a ledger onto the table. "Teach." He raised a brow. "So diligent today? Say less." Pei Yanzhou laughed once and surprisingly obeyed. That day, the steward of the elder branch of the Earl of Yongning's household happened to come to the shop. He said the shop in the western quarter stood mostly idle and suggested selling it so the elder branch could purchase a more suitable residence. Pei Yanzhou did not even lift his head. Number the steward frowned. "We are one family, and the elder branch will inherit the title. Second young master should consider the needs of the household." At last Pei Yanzhou looked up. "My mother left that shop to me. What has my elder brother inheriting a title to do with my shop?" The steward choked on his reply. "Then perhaps lend the silver instead." "Very well," the steward brightened. Pei Yanzhou added leisurely, "Write a note of debt and set a date for repayment." A note of debt between blood brothers. "Specially between blood brothers." He smiled. "Otherwise, if we quarrel years from now, neither of us will even know which page to open." A laugh escaped me before I could stop it. Both men looked over. I immediately lowered my head and pretended to be deeply occupied. After the steward left in a fury, I asked, "Are you always so quick to refuse your family? Number so you do hesitate?" "Of course." That surprised me. Pei Yanzhou leaned against the table. "He is my elder brother. When mother was gravely ill, he kept watch with me. When I was punished as a boy, he once took a beating in my place. If he asks something of me, naturally it troubles me to refuse. I studied him. Then why refuse? Because feeling troubled is one matter." He paused. "The shop still belongs to me." I laughed. "I thought you were about to deliver some grand principle. Would you like one? Number good? I have no wish to give one." "A fine?" Rain began outside. My carriage waited at the mouth of the lane, and I had brought no umbrella. Pei Yanzhou opened one. "Come." "Where?" "I shall walk you to the carriage." "It is only a few dozen steps." "Then walk through the rain alone." I immediately stepped beneath the umbrella. "I never said you could not escort me." He laughed and tilted the umbrella farther over my side rein, whispered against the oiled paper overhead. I suddenly remembered something. "I have taken another half-hour of your time today." He raised a brow. "Keeping an account?" "I am." "Then repay it slowly." He looked ahead, a faint smile at his mouth. "You have been coming rather often lately." For no sensible reason, my heart beat faster. Once I was inside the carriage. Qingde glanced at me. I immediately said, "Do not speak. This servant has not spoken. Continue in that excellent fashion." She lowered her head to hide a smile. The carriage had gone some distance when I still could not resist lifting the curtain and looking back. Pei Yanzhou was still standing outside the shop. Qingde said gently, "My lady, did you not forbid this servant to speak?" I dropped the curtain. "Yes." "Then this servant has said nothing at all." I turned to look at her. This maid was growing bolder by the day. By the end of the month, 3 years of the Marquise's old accounts had been roughly sorted. When the final numbers were placed on the table, the whole family fell silent. The silver the second branch had taken from the common purse and never repaid was no small sum. Grandmother stared at the figures for a long time. Second uncle frowned. "We are family. Must every coin truly be counted so finely?" I intended to hold my tongue. Truly, I managed 3 heartbeats, then failed. Second uncle. "What? If the sums need not be counted carefully, why is it always someone else who pays them?" His face darkened. I immediately sat straighter. So today I would finally be scolded. Instead, grandmother said first, "She is right." I quietly relaxed. Shen Huaijin sat beside me and murmured, "You have quite a number of shields." I stepped on his foot. He withdrew it instantly. Good, he was learning. The Chow family came to the residence soon after. This time it was not only second aunt's elder brother, Chow Lingyi herself came as well. She was not what I had imagined. She did not weep. She was not arrogant. She spoke alone with brother for a long time. Then Shen Huaijin himself asked me to enter. Chao Lingyi merely nodded when she saw me. I will ask once more. She looked at brother. Did you break the engagement because of that surety bond? He shook his head. Not only because of that. Then why? Because the life you want after marriage is not the life I want. Brother said, you believe that after marriage the two families become one. If the Chao family is in difficulty, I should help. If the second branch does business with the cows, I should help there too. Should you not? I may choose to help, Shen Huaijin said. But marriage does not make every difficulty of your clan my natural duty. Her face grew pale. Our husband and wife, not one. Brother suddenly glanced at me. Guiltily, I lowered my head and drank tea. The words husband and wife are one had appeared so often in the residence lately that I suspected everyone knew who had first shouted about them. Shen Huaijin said, husband and wife being one does not mean every account belonging to both families becomes a single book. The room stayed quiet for a long time. At last, Chao Lingyi nodded. I understand, at the door. She stopped. It is easy for you to say this now. One day, if you marry a woman who refuses to spend her money and strength on your family, you may regret it. Brother answered calmly, that belongs to another day. Today I know we do not suit. I will not marry merely because I fear I might regret refusing. Chao Lingyi left. I watched her go without speaking. Brother asked, what are you thinking? That you can apparently speak at great length when forced. He stared at me, Shen Jiwei. Yes? Leave. I ran out laughing. What I had really thought was that not every failed betrothal required a villain, but there was no need to say it aloud. Brother had made his choice. Chao Lingyi had understood it. Neither needed me standing between them to pronounce judgment. I had barely entered the main hall when second aunt spoke in front of everyone. This household was peaceful before. Mother was kind. The brothers were harmonious. Huaijin's marriage was settled. Then Jiwei fell ill and began having strange dreams. One man resigned, another broke his engagement, and now even the accounts are being divided coin by coin. If a family separates everything so thoroughly, can it still be called a family? The lid of my teacup clicked softly against the rim. I meant to endure it. She was, after all, my elder. Then I reconsidered. I had nearly died once already. What exactly was I saving my patience for? Second aunt means my illness has also granted me a gift for household reform. Her expression changed. I was preparing to continue when father set down his cup. Resigning was my own decision. Brother came in behind us. Ending my engagement was mine, grandmother said leisurely. I ordered the accounts examined. Mother said nothing at all. She simply removed the tea that had gone cold in front of me and replaced it with a warm cup. My mouth remained open. Half my arguments stuck in my throat. Wonderful. I had finally prepared myself for a proper battle, and 4 members of my family had each spoken once and finished it before I could begin. Second aunt looked terrible. I quietly lifted the fresh cup mother had given me. Being the cherished child of the family was unexpectedly troublesome. Mostly because everyone kept stealing my best lines. Father looked at second aunt. Each of us is capable of making our own decisions. Do not place the weight of our choices on Jiwei. My nose stung to. Hide it. I immediately drank my tea. It was too hot. I nearly sprayed it across the table. Mother patted my back slowly. Brother laughed beside me. A moment ago you had plenty to say. With watering eyes, I glared at him. Be silent. Grandmother finally turned to second uncle. 1 month. Separate. The second branch's accounts completely from the common household accounts. Second uncle looked up sharply. Mother truly means to divide the family. Not the family. Grandmother met his eyes. The accounts. Accounts that should have been divided decades ago. This time, no one offered him an easy way out. And for the first time, I understood something. A family speaking clearly did not mean it was falling apart. It was more like someone had finally thrown open a window. The air was colder for a moment, but the room could breathe. A few days later, a trade contract arrived at the residence. Second uncle wanted to expand into goods from the southern provinces. He had already pledged one shop and one farm of his own. There was nothing wrong with that. His property, his venture, his choice. The trouble lay on the last page. The other party required father's personal signature as guarantor. I had only been passing father's study. Truly, then I heard the word guarantor, and my feet turned in of their own accord. Father looked up. Do you need something? Number? Then why are you standing in the doorway? For the fresh air. Father glanced at the window. Snow was falling heavily. I entered with great dignity. I have changed my mind about the air. Second uncle already looked displeased. Seeing me did not improve matters. Very considerately I sat in the farthest corner. My ears, however, were keenly attentive. Shen Jingchuan turned to the last page of the contract. Second brother, is this your venture? Yes, the pledged property is yours. Yes, then why must I guarantee it? Second uncle faltered. At last he said, Elder brother, it is only a signature. No one is truly asking you to repay for me. My eyelid twitched. That sounded far too familiar. I could have supplied the next lines myself. Only a piece of paper, only a name, only a temporary need. Before ruin actually falls, danger always pretends to be something small. Father pushed the contract back. I will not sign. Second uncle's face darkened. Must you truly be this heartless? Shen Jingchuan raised his eyes. Your venture, your property, your consequence. You call that heartless? Second uncle swept out in anger. In the corner, I silently applauded. No sound. Father looked at me. What are your hands doing? I lowered them at once. They were cold. If you are cold, go back. Yes. At the door, I poked my head in again. Father, what? That was very well said. Shen Jingtuan was silent for a moment. Out. I ran away smiling. Second uncle signed away his own property in the end. When the news reached us, grandmother said very little all day. After dinner, I sat with her in the warm chamber. She gazed out the window for a long time before asking, Joey, have I become too cruel? I was peeling an orange. I looked up. Why? Whenever his ventures lost money before, your father covered the loss. Now we have stopped, if he truly loses badly. She left the sentence unfinished. I broke off a segment of orange and offered it to her. She frowned. Sour. You have not tasted it. It looks sour. Then I shall eat it. I put it into my mouth and immediately puckered. Grandmother finally laughed. I took my chance. Does second uncle own shops? Yes, farmland. Yes, a residence of his own. Yes. Then why does refusing to pay the debts of a man with shops, land, and a house count as forcing him into ruin? Grandmother went still. I broke off another orange segment. This time I smelled it first and did not dare eat it. If he profits, the profit is his. If he loses, father is expected to bear it with him. Then why should he ever fear losing? Grandmother was silent for a long time. At last she patted my hand. Since recovering, your tongue has become sharper and sharper. I smiled. Do you dislike it? Very much. Will you eat the orange, numbered truly? Take it away. I had just lifted the plate when she said, leave too. I lowered my head to hide my smile. Grandmother glared at me. What are you laughing at? Nothing. She had loved her younger son for decades. It would have been stranger if she could turn her heart to stone overnight. She would soften, she would worry, she would still want to tidy up the wreckage for him. But now at least she had learned to stop for one moment first. That was enough. I thought second uncle's business would be our greatest trouble next. I had underestimated second aunt. She went to grandmother. If brother would not marry Chow Ling Yi, so be it. The Chow family had other marriageable sons, and the Marquise's household still had me. When Qingde brought me the news, I stared for 3 full heartbeats. She means to marry me into the Chow family. Qingde nodded. And then the Chows will help second uncle's business. Another nod. I laughed, not from anger. The absurdity had simply achieved a new level of craftsmanship. Brother refused to shoulder the Chow family's accounts, so now they would send me instead. To some people, apparently, marriage worked exactly like an abacus. If one bead would not move, try the next. I was already rising to find second aunt when Chingday's voice became even quieter. The old madam did not refuse at once. I stopped moving. The smile slowly left my face. Grandmother did not refuse. Chingday hurried to explain she merely did not answer immediately. My lady, please do not think too much of it. I said nothing. On any ordinary day, I would already have run to grandmother's warm chamber and demanded an answer. But that day was the 14th day of the 12th month. Only one day remained before the date on which Shen Jiwei had died in the original tale. That afternoon, my fever returned. It was not high, yet my hands and feet went cold, my chest felt tight, and my whole body seemed pinned beneath a quilt soaked through with winter rain. Chingday touched my forehead and turned white. My lady! I lay back down. For the first time since arriving here, true fear seized me. These past days I had kept myself busy warning father, busy pulling brother away from his doomed marriage, busy digging up bricks with grandmother, busy wrestling with ledgers. I had convinced myself that if everyone chose differently, fate would simply bend with us. But when the day marked for my own death drew near, I discovered something humiliatingly simple. I was terrified. What if the illness in the story had never been caused by the ancestral right at all? What if I stayed home and still died? What if fate was a rope, and no matter how many turns I took, it would drag me back to the same place in the end? The physician arrived quickly. He took my pulse, asked about my symptoms, examined my tongue, and finally said the winter chill had not fully left my body. I had also been thinking too much and sleeping too little. Nothing was gravely wrong. The easier he sounded, the less I dared believe him. Chingday escorted him out. I lay staring at the bed curtains, afraid to close my eyes. Mother came later. So did grandmother. Brother sat beside the bed, holding my medicine, his face darker than mine. I looked around at them and almost laughed. If all of you stare at me like this, I shall start to believe I truly am dying. Mother's eyes reddened at once. Do not speak such nonsense. Brother held out the bowl. Drink. I smelled it and felt my very soul wake in protest. Can I have sugar in it? Number why? Yesterday you said you wished to live properly. What necessary bond exists between living properly and drinking something this bitter? Drink. I looked at Mother. She said gently, finish it, and I will give you candied fruit. I looked at grandmother. Grandmother said, why are you looking at me? I did not brew it. There was no justice in the world. I drank it one mouthful at a time. Halfway through, the images from my dreams rose again. After Shen Jiwei died in the tale, Mother fell ill. Brother stopped visiting his sister's courtyard. Father collapsed later, and at the end, grandmother was left alone. Before, I had feared death because living creatures fear death. Now I suddenly had very particular reasons. I could not bear to leave them. Father, whose face always pretended not to worry even when he did brother, with his endlessly provoking mouth. Mother, who tested the warmth of a fresh cup of tea before placing it before me. Grandmother, who declared the orange sour and then insisted I leave her 2 pieces. I lowered my head and finished the rest of the medicine in one breath. It was so bitter my eyes burned. Brother thought I was crying. His voice softened immediately. Is it truly that awful? I glared at him. You drink a bowl. I am not ill. Then be quiet. He laughed. Grandmother suddenly said, you will not attend tomorrow's ancestral rite. I looked up. If second aunt says, she may come to me, if the clan elders ask. They may come to me as well, if the ancestors. Grandmother glared. Shen Jiwei. I shut my mouth at once the next morning. As expected, someone from the second branch delicately raised the question of whether it was proper for the legitimate daughter of the house to miss the family rite. Grandmother gave one answer. If our ancestors truly cherish their descendants, they will not require a sick girl to kneel on freezing ground merely for their satisfaction. The ceremony was simplified. I spent the whole day in bed. I ate when it was time to eat. I drank my medicine when it was time to drink. I slept when I was tired, when something hurt. I said so. I saved no one. I examined no accounts. I altered no one's fate. I did one remarkably unimpressive thing. I stayed alive through the night. The watch drums sounded one after another. I lay awake, counting first watch. Second, third, fourth. Chingde had fallen asleep against the footstool, her head nodding gently. I thought of waking her, then could not bring myself to. At last the distant fifth watch drum sounded, and pale light slowly appeared through the paper window. I lay still for a long time. Then I touched my face, pinched my arm. It hurt. I was alive. Tears fell without warning. Chingde woke with a start. My lady, what is wrong? I laughed and cried at the same time. Nothing. Then why are you crying? I sniffed. I want osmanthus cake today. Chingde looked utterly bewildered. This servant will tell the kitchen at once. She had scarcely run out before mother came in. Qingdai, the little traitor, had clearly sent word again. Sulingi saw my red eyes and asked nothing. She only sat beside me and drew me into her arms. I had still been holding myself together. That embrace broke everything loose. Mother, I truly was frightened last night. I know. I was afraid that if I fell asleep, I would never wake again. Her arms tightened. You will. How do you know? I do not. She patted my back softly. But even when we do not know, I can still be afraid beside you. That made me cry even harder. Brother's voice came from outside. The osmanthus cake is ready. I immediately buried my face in mother's shoulder. Do not let him in. Why, I look dreadful when I cry. Shen Huaijin called through the door. I heard that. I jerked my head up. Who gave you permission to listen? Silence outside. Then, shall I go? Leave the cakes. A laugh sounded beyond the door. Excellent. The day of my supposed death had passed. My brother remained just as irritating as ever. The following afternoon, Pei Yanzhou came to the residence. He did not enter the inner courtyard. Instead, brother carried in a small wooden box for him. It did not contain osmanthus cake. It held osmanthus sugar candies. Shen Huaijin leaned against the doorway. Second young Master Pei said, you mentioned liking them a few days ago. I blinked. When did I say that? Perhaps while doing accounts. A small note lay beneath the box. When you recover, come repay what you owe. I stared at those words for far too long. Brother folded his arms. Finished smiling yet? I instantly flattened my mouth. Who is smiling? The corners of your lips are nearly touching the heavens. You saw wrongly, of course. He drew out the words. I snatched up a pillow and threw it at him. He laughed and dodged. Once my strength returned. I had brother arrange for Pei Yanzhou to meet me in the front courtyard. The first thing he did upon seeing me was inspect my complexion. Back among the living, the phrase struck too close to something tender inside me. He noticed at once and did not make another joke. You look much better. I nodded. Yesterday mattered greatly to me. Pei Yanzhou did not ask why. Then remember it. I rolled one osmanthus candy between my fingers. Why did you send these? Do you not like them? You remembered. People who keep accounts tend to remember things. I smiled. Then, after a moment, I asked, will there be some next year? He looked up. Somewhat. Osmanthus candy. Did you not say yesterday was important? That is why next year, at this same time, you should send me another box. For once, Pei Yanzhou had no immediate answer. He was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. Then I shall send it every year. I lowered my head. I had not even eaten the candy yet. And still sweetness had already reached my mouth, sweetness or no sweetness. Second aunt had no intention of leaving me peaceful for long. She came to see me herself. This time she wore none of her elders' authority. Her tone was gentler than usual. Jie, because of your brother's matter. You have formed some misunderstandings about the Chow family. There is no misunderstanding. I set down my tea. The Chows have their considerations. Brother has his own. They simply do not suit one another. Her smile stiffened slightly. If the second branch's business truly fails, your grandmother will be placed in a difficult position. I said nothing. At last she came to the point. There is a young gentleman in the Chow family of good appearance and respectable birth. If our families were joined by another marriage, many matters would become easier to discuss. I looked at her. So if I marry into the Chow family, second uncle's debts become easier to settle. Second aunt sighed. Marriage has always been a joining of two families who help one another. I smiled faintly. Second aunt. Brother's marriage failed, so now you offer me instead. That is an ugly way to say it. Then how shall I make it pretty? I held my tea, and my voice remained almost gentle. Shall I say that second uncle gambled his own property on a venture, and if he loses, his niece will be married off to patch the hole? Second aunt's face hardened. Jie. Yes? Can you truly bear to watch the second branch fall? I can. The answer came so quickly that even I blinked. So did she, I considered and added, if fall means second uncle bearing the result of his own choice. Then yes, I can bear it. Second aunt shot to her feet. At the same moment, brother's voice came from outside. She will not marry him. We both turned. Shen Huaijin entered. Father and mother were behind him. I stared. Number, why were they here again? I had not even dreamed this time. Shen Jingchuan looked at second aunt, his voice level. My daughter is not a sum of silver to be moved from one line of an account to another. Second aunt's face went white. Me nose stung, and most inappropriately another thought crossed my mind. There it was. Someone had stolen my best line again. At last grandmother arrived too. Second aunt seemed to seize upon her final hope. Mother, you understand best. If second master truly suffers such losses, what will people outside say? The two branches have lived together all these years. If we suddenly draw every boundary over a few debts, everyone will call the elder branch cold-hearted. Grandmother did not answer at once. She looked at second aunt, then at me. Me chest tightened. Qingde had been right. Grandmother truly had hesitated before. I knew why. Second uncle was her own son. She had caught him every time he fell for years. No one could become iron-hearted in a single night. I understood that. Understanding did not stop it from hurting. Grandmother came to me and smoothed my hair. When your second uncle was young, he competed with your father in everything. If your father read well, he would study through the night. If your father rode and shot well, he would climb back into the saddle after every fall. Latter, when your grandfather decided the elder branch would inherit the title, he said it did not matter. I knew it did. Her voice had grown rough. So for all these years, I kept trying to make it up to him. A little more silver, a little more help from your father, one more excuse spoken on his behalf. I told myself that was how a mother loved her son. She paused. My fingers tightened around my sleeve. Now I see that I have spent years filling his losses. If I keep filling them, next I will be pouring your whole life into the hole. Grandmother turned to second aunt. No more. 2 words. The last trace of hope left second aunt's face. After she left, the room stayed quiet. I said nothing either. Grandmother had just lifted her tea when I suddenly threw my arms around her. Her body went stiff. What are you doing? Nothing. Crying. Number, your voice is hoarse. The wind. Brother laughed nearby. I turned on him. Have you nothing better to do? A little. Go away. This is grandmother's warm chamber. Then I shall go. I started to release grandmother, but she pressed me back against her. The girl hugging me may stay. She glanced at brother. You leave. Shen Huaijin had no answer. I buried my face against grandmother's shoulder, unable to suppress my smile. Excellent, for once I had won around. When the clan elders came to the Marquise's residence, grandmother placed the wooden box from beneath the 3rd brick in the center of the main hall. I had expected chaos. I had even eaten 2 pastries beforehand in case the argument lasted through mealtime. As it turned out, I had worried for nothing. At first, everything was quiet. Grandmother spread out the deed of division. When the late Marquis fell gravely ill, the property of the 2 branches was divided. I was the one who suppressed this deed. Many of the 2nd branch's later withdrawals from the common purse were also approved by me. So the old accounts cannot all be laid at Jingming's feet. Second uncle visibly startled. Father spoke next. I was also wrong. Whenever second brother asked to borrow, I told myself brothers need not count too closely. When his ventures lacked ready silver, I told myself the Marquis's household could bear it. We will not pursue every old debt. He paused. But new accounts cannot remain mixed. I quietly breathed out exactly. If the whole family had gathered only to condemn second uncle, it would have felt false. The ending written for this household had never been one man's doing. Those who softened, those who silently allowed things, those who always stepped in to clean up another person's ruin, had each added a piece of kindling. Naturally, I did not say this aloud. I had learned something recently. Certain truths sounded much better when people reached them themselves than when I stood up and announced the lesson. The ledgers were carried in one after another. Land and shops still belonging to the 2nd branch would remain untouched. Expenses from recent years that had truly served shared clan obligations were removed from the debt. Sums used solely for the 2nd branch would gradually be repaid from its own profits. And if the branches ever entered business together again, there would be written contracts stating shares, profits, and who bore losses. Second uncle's face darkened further and further. Must blood brothers truly write such things? I lowered my eyes to my tea. Endure it. Endure it. 3 heartbeats. I failed. If nothing is written, why is father always the one who pays? Every person in the hall looked at me. I slowly set down my cup. I was merely asking. Brother's shoulders began shaking beside me again. I tried to step on him, missed. He had prepared this time, infuriating. I sat straighter. And one more rule, second uncle frowned. Is this a place for you to speak? I had just opened my mouth. Grandmother answered first. It is. Second uncle stiffened. My spirits improved at once. From today onward, no one's marriage is to be traded for ease in business. Not brothers, not mine. Grandmother nodded first. Write it down. The clan elders exchanged looks. Wone coughed, but no one objected. At last second, uncle slapped the table and stood. In the end, all of you simply want to drive me out. Father frowned. No one is driving you out. You have your own residence, farmland, and shops. Second uncle gave a bitter laugh. Then what am I? Am I still second master of the Marquis of Schwamping's house? And suddenly I understood. It was never only about silver. He cared about the name hanging above this household. So long as he lived here, when he went out to do business, people did not see only Shen Jingming. They saw the Marquis of Schwamping standing behind him. Once the accounts were truly separated, he would still have a house, land, shops, and a life far better than most. But to a man accustomed to standing beneath another roof, being asked to hold his own umbrella, felt like injury. Grandmother looked at him with sorrow in her eyes. She did not change her answer. You are not being driven away. You are simply going to live your own life now. Second uncle left in the end. 1 month later, his southern goods venture did fail. There was no fraud. No villain secretly ruined him. He had simply purchased too much stock, and the market price suddenly fell. The Chow family recovered its money according to the contract. 1 farm and 1 shop pledged by second uncle were taken as agreed. The first time he came back to ask father for help, I happened to be in the main courtyard. I meant to leave. Father said, "Stay." So I sat in the corner. Second uncle was silent for a long time before saying quietly, "Elder brother, I am still short 1 sum." Father asked, "How will you repay it?" Second uncle's face tightened. "We are brothers, which is why I am willing to lend it to you," father replied calmly, "but you must tell me how you intend to repay it." The room remained silent for a long time. I looked down at the tips of my shoes. This conversation would never have happened before. In the past, if second uncle said he lacked silver, father would have ordered the steward to bring it. He was still willing to help now. He had simply learned to ask the next question: what will you do after I help? In the end, second uncle did not borrow the money, because even he realized that if he had no means to repay, another loan merely moved the whole from one place to another. He abandoned his most reckless ventures, sold a few unnecessary luxuries, and moved back to his own residence. Second aunt hated the change at first. I heard they argued more than once. But strangely enough, once no one else was there to clean up after them, they actually learned to keep their own household going. They were not as grand as before. They were nowhere near destitute either after Chingde told me. I could not help saying, so when everyone used to say, if we do not help him, he is finished. What they really meant was, if we do not help him, he cannot live as comfortably as before. Chingde considered, it seems so. Those are very different sentences. My lady grows sharper with words every day. I narrowed my eyes. Are you learning that from grandmother? Chingde immediately lowered her head. This servant would not dare. A few days later, Pei Yanzhou came to the residence. Brother had apparently told him about second aunt's attempt to use my marriage as part of a bargain. The instant I saw Pei Yanzhou, I wanted to glare at Shen Huaizhen, very naturally turned around and left. The traitor fled quickly. Pei Yanzhou sat down and unusually did not tease me first. After a moment of silence, he said, if you need it, I can have my family come with a marriage proposal now. I froze. If you are already betrothed, the Chow family will have far less room to use your marriage in their schemes. My heart struck hard once, not because he had spoken of marriage, because I suddenly understood what he meant. He was willing to step into this trouble himself and stand between it and me. I lowered my eyes and pinched the edge of my sleeve. Number Pei Yanzhou's face did not change. He did not ask whether I disliked him. He only asked, why? If I agree to marry you merely to escape the Chow family, would I not still be using marriage to solve a family problem? I looked up at him. I do not want that. I want to finish speaking for myself first. Pei Yanzhou watched me for several heartbeats, then nodded. Good. One word, no. What can a young lady do alone? No. Why insist upon making things difficult? Not even a wounded expression because I had refused him. That almost unsettled me more. You are not angry. Why should I be? I refused you. You refused a proposal now. He looked at me. You did not say you would never marry me. Heat rushed to my face. Who said I would marry you later? Pei Yanzhou smiled. Then I shall wait until you say it. For once, I had no reply at all. After a moment, I still could not resist asking, are you not afraid I will solve everything and then truly refuse to marry you? I am. I stared. He admitted it so quickly. Then why agree? Being afraid is one matter. Pei Yanzhou lifted his tea with perfect ease. Whether I respect your answer is another. I looked at him for 2 heartbeats. Then laughed. You have said that sort of thing twice now. Good words may be repeated. Who said they were good? You remember them very clearly. Does that not count? I could not win against him. Before leaving, he said only, settle it first. When you are done, I will ask again. Latter he truly did. That day I was in the front hall examining the newly delivered accounts from the medicine shop. The gatekeeper announced that second young Master Pi had arrived. I had been perfectly calm. Then my brush fell from my hand and struck the table. Chingde lowered her head, smiling. I glared. Go outside. This servant said nothing. Your face said enough. She ran away laughing. Pei Yanzhou entered carrying no ledger and no contract. Finished? I nodded. Finished. Then I shall ask again. My heart suddenly began misbehaving. He looked at me, a faint smile in his eyes. Miss Shen, may I have my family come to ask for your hand now? My face went hot. At that precise moment, Brother coughed very loudly behind me. I spun around. Behind the curtain stood father, mother, grandmother, and Shen Huaizhen. Not one missing. I went silent. Peiyanjo also went silent. Very slowly I asked, "What are all of you doing?" Brother answered without shame. "Passing by." "Grandmother is passing by too." Grandmother said with complete righteousness, "It is my house, mother." Sulingi smiled gently. "I am accompanying your grandmother." At last I looked at Father Shen Jingchuan coughed. "I came looking for your brother." I shut my eyes. Excellent. Me family had become addicted to overhearing things. There was no cure. I took Peiyanjo to the warm chamber in the front courtyard. Naturally, there were almost certainly people outside the door. I had surrendered to my fate. "I have a few things I must say first." Peiyanjo sat. "Say them." "Grandmother has given me a medicine shop to manage as practice. I want to run it myself. I'm after marriage. I want to keep running it." And I frowned. "Can you say anything besides, You have not asked a question yet." "Fine, I shall ask." I sat straighter. "Do you object?" Peiyanjo looked puzzled. "It is your shop. What would I be objecting to?" I paused. People may say a wife who spends her days managing a shop is not properly settled at home. Let them speak. "What if one day I earn more silver than you?" Peiyanjo was silent for a moment. For no sensible reason. I grew nervous. Then he smiled. "I expect I would be delighted." "Why?" "It would prove I chose well." I laughed despite myself. Outside the door, brother also failed to suppress a laugh. My face darkened. Shen Huaijin. Instant silence outside. Peiyanjo's shoulders trembled. I glared at him. "You are laughing too." "I would not dare." "You plainly are." "Then, what shall I do?" He lowered his voice a little. "After we marry, you may punish me at home." My entire face went hot. Even grandmother coughed outside. I truly wanted to throw everyone out. I did not. Mostly because it was grandmother's warm chamber. I lacked the authority. Once the two families formally began discussing the betrothal, there was no grand sensation through the capital and no extravagant display. Instead, everyone sat down and spoke plainly about the matters that mattered. My dowry would remain under my own management. I would continue operating the medicine shop. Peiyanjo's property would remain his. How ordinary household expenses would be shared, and how larger sums would be discussed were agreed in advance. I looked at the neatly written pages and nearly laughed. Other couples spoke of poetry, blossoms, and moonlight when arranging a marriage. Or betrothal had ledgers lying beside it. Peiyanjo seemed very satisfied. "Speak clearly now, quarrel less later." I asked, "And if we still quarrel?" "Then after the quarrel, we change what needs changing." I paused. Strangely, that sounded far more reliable than any promise that we would never quarrel at all. Perhaps a relationship was not secure because certain subjects were forbidden. Perhaps it was secure because nothing had to be hidden beneath the table. Naturally, I did not say this profound thought aloud. Peiyanjo ruined the moment with his next sentence. "Would you like to inspect the list of betrothal gifts yourself?" I stared at him. Excellent. The romance survived half a heartbeat. After the betrothal, the Marquise's residence finally enjoyed a period of peace. By peace, I mean that no one dug up the ancestral hall, broke engagements, rewrote the household books, or attempted to marry me away to patch another person's finances. As for the Shen family itself, it was never truly quiet. Father remained busy. He simply stopped driving himself into the ground. Once, I caught him coughing in his study and planted myself in the doorway. Shen Jingchuan looked up. "What is it?" "Show me the physician's note." "It is only a chill." "Show me, Jiwei, father." We stared at each other for a long time. He surrendered first. He took the physician's new prescription from a drawer and handed it over. I examined it with tremendous care. I understood almost none of it. But at least I recognized none of the frightening phrases I had seen in older prescriptions, such as coughing blood or months of bed rest. I returned it. "Good." Father looked helpless. "Did you understand it?" "Number, then why read it?" "To make certain you were not hiding it." He fell silent. I remembered the physician's note concealed in the third drawer of my dream. Then I looked at the father, who now handed over his prescriptions because I demanded them, and I could not help smiling. Shen Jingchuan frowned. What are you smiling about? Nothing. Slandering me in your thoughts again. I stared in shock. How did you know? Father said leisurely, you and your brother have the same failing. When you are thinking wicked things, your eyes shine. I had no answer. So he had always known, he simply chose not to say it. Mother also reorganized her dowry property. She did not recover every sum from the past. Some had been gone too long. Some she had genuinely wished to give. Let the old losses buy me a lesson, she said. After that, whenever someone asked her for money, she first asked herself one question. Do I truly wish to give this, or am I only afraid someone will be displeased if I refuse? The first time I heard her refuse a clan relative, I actually hid behind a screen to listen. It was not that I loved eavesdropping. Everyone in this family possessed the skill. Surely I could practice once in a while. The relative spoke with great feeling. Mother listened, then said mildly, I will not provide this silver. The visitor stared my lady in the past. The past is the past. This time I do not wish to. That was all. After the visitor left, I poked my head out from behind the screen. Mother Sulingi jumped. Why are you there, passing by? Behind a screen. The view is pleasant. Mother stared at me for 2 heartbeats and then burst out laughing. Shen Jiwei. You are becoming more like your brother every day. I objected immediately. That is an insult. Shen Huaijin happened to pass outside. I heard that. I closed my eyes. There were truly no secrets in the Marquise's residence. Grandmother and second uncle did not cut one another off either. He still came to pay his respects on the 1st and 15th of every month. The only difference was that when he opened his mouth, Grandmother no longer immediately ordered the elder branch to clean up whatever followed. Ansi, she secretly gave me a box of pastries to send him. I deliberately asked, not afraid you are growing soft again. Grandmother snorted. Sending a box of cakes is softness. Perhaps not. I am not paying his debts. I considered this seriously. True. She glared at me. Do I need you to teach me that? I immediately carried the cakes away. Loving someone did not mean living their life for them. I did not say that aloud either. I had become very restrained. I allowed myself at least 3 fewer grand conclusions every day. As for second uncle, after closing the Southern Goods venture, he began seriously managing the 2 ordinary shops he still owned. Before, 10 taels of profit had seemed too little. He always wanted one enormous venture that would make him rich in a single stroke. Know that no one stood behind him to absorb the loss. He inspected every purchase more carefully than anyone. After half a year, the shop slowly became steady. Second aunt still cared deeply about appearances, but with less silver to scatter, she too learned to count her days and her expenses. When she saw me, she was never warm. I did not need warmth from her. If we could sit at the same table without using marriage and money to scheme against one another, that was already a considerable improvement. Chao Lingyi later received another proposal. I heard the man's family also worked in trade before the betrothal. Both sides openly discussed property, business dealings, and whether either family would ever be asked to guarantee the other's debts. I was genuinely pleased for her. Brother looked at me. What are you so pleased about? I am pleased for her. You used to watch her as though she might poison your tea. The past is the past. I borrowed Mother's exact tone. Shen Huaijin looked at me for a long moment. You have become rather pleased with yourself lately. A little. Because you are getting married. I kicked at him. He dodged with practiced ease. Not long afterward, the laughter turned on him. Brother met a young woman, Song Ching Tang, who managed a bookshop in the capital. The first time he mentioned her, I deliberately asked, does her family have old debts? Shen Huaijin's face darkened. Shen Jiwei. Any surety bonds? Be quiet. Would you like me to inspect them for you? Brother shoved a piece of cake into my mouth. I nearly choked. Mother hurried to pour me tea while scolding him. She has only recently recovered. Why would you give her such a large piece? After drinking, I continued, So, are there any? Shen Huaijin turned and left. I laughed until my sides hurt. The formal meeting was even better. Song Qingtang had scarcely sat down when brother solemnly asked how much rent her bookshop paid each year, how much the renovation had cost last year, and whether the neighboring storefront was worth leasing as well. The family's expressions slowly became strange. Grandmother's teacup stopped halfway to her mouth. Father closed his eyes. Mother began looking at me. Her expression plainly asked, "Did you ruin your brother?" I lowered my head and drank tea. This had nothing to do with me. I had only taught him not to repay other people's debts. I had never told him to inspect a woman's accounts during a marriage meeting. Song Qingtang, however, remained calm and answered each question. Then she asked, "Young Master Shen, are you here to consider a marriage or inspect my accounts?" Brother finally froze. I nearly fell headfirst onto the table. Pei Yanzhou sat beside me and murmured, "Another inch forward and you will fall off your chair." I quietly stepped on his foot. Shen Huaijin struggled for a long moment before blurting, "I simply do not want you to lose money." The room became utterly silent. Even he looked startled by what had come out of his mouth. I could not endure it. What sort of earth-shaking declaration is that? "I don't want you to lose money." Very good. Entirely worthy of the Shen family. Brother's face turned dark enough to grind ink upon. "Shen Jiwei." I waved while laughing. "Continue. I am not here." "The whole table is shaking because you are laughing," Pei Yanzhou said. I leaned toward him and whispered, "Be quiet." Song Qingtang laughed too. She set down her cup. "Then I have several questions for young Master Shen." Brother sat straighter at once. "Ask. If I still wish to expand my bookshop after marriage, will you make the decision for me? Number if I ask your opinion. I will tell you everything I know. If I need to borrow silver, we write a note of debt." Song Qingtang raised a brow. Brother hurriedly added, "If you are willing to let me take a share in the venture, we can also divide profit and loss according to our shares." She studied him for a moment. "Acceptable." Brother blinked. "What is acceptable?" "You." Song Qingtang lifted her tea with a perfectly calm expression. "Barely acceptable." I collapsed against Pei Yanzhou's shoulder laughing. Shen Huaijin ground out, "Shen Jiwei, I am not laughing at you." Get off his shoulder before saying that. I froze. Every eye in the room turned toward me. I slowly sat upright. Pei Yanzhou tilted his head away, but his shoulders were unmistakably shaking too. Under the table, I pinched him. Later, brother and Song Qingtang truly became betrothed in private. I asked her, "What exactly do you like about my brother?" She thought for a long time. "He cannot say anything sweet." I nodded. "True. Sometimes he is also very annoying. Extremely. The first time we properly met, he told me I had overpaid for timber. He deserved a beating." Song Qingtang laughed. "But afterward, he truly found me two better timber merchants. He did not choose for me. He wrote down the prices, the quality and the distance each shipment would travel. Then he left the choice to me." I went quiet. Song Qingtang looked at me. "What? Nothing." I smiled. "I suddenly think he may indeed be barely acceptable." The man who once nearly wagered his whole life to fill another family's debts had at least learned that loving someone did not mean choosing her life for her. That was more than good enough. My medicine shop slowly found its footing too. Naturally, it was not effortless. Not long after I took charge, I became afraid of running out of stock and ordered 2 large shipments at once. The storeroom filled to the rafters. I stared at the ledger and slept badly for 2 nights. On the 3rd day, Pei Yanzhou came by. The moment I saw him, guilt seized me. He looked at the shadows under my eyes. "Robbed a house." "Number then." "Why will you not look at me?" "Who will not?" I shoved the ledger toward him. "Read." Pei Yanzhou turned to the purchase page and stopped. My guilt worsened. "Is it ruined? Number. Then why are you silent? I am deciding how to phrase this so you do not become angry from embarrassment." I stared. Pei-Yun-jo. Choose your words with care. He tapped one line with his brush. You bought too much too quickly. And then you think, I glared. I asked you. You own the shop. And I can tell you where the weakness lies. But the shop is not mine. You decide how to repair it. I stared at him for a long time. Can you not simply tell me the answer? I can, then tell me. Number I seized the abacus and nearly threw it at him. He finally laughed and dodged. Mistress Shen gently. That abacus costs money. I grew even angrier in the end. I worked out a solution myself. I reduced the next order, sold the excess herbs in smaller lots to several familiar clinics, and changed my arrangement with farmers outside the city, so deliveries came in separate batches. There was no miraculous reversal overnight, but little by little, the storeroom emptied. The first time I earned a proper profit by relying on my own judgment, I clutched the ledger and rushed to find Pei-Yun-jo. He was drinking tea. He slapped the book onto the table. Look, he read it twice. I frowned. What does that mean? I am confirming something. What? That you did not secretly add your own silver and call it profit. I raised my hand to hit him. He laughed and dodged, then returned the ledger. Mistress Shen is formidable. I had been ready to scold him. At those words, I suddenly smiled instead. First, all I had wanted was to survive the 15th day of the 12th month. Then my thoughts had filled with saving the family. Only after this small medicine shop steadied under my hands did I possess something that was mine for no reason beyond myself, not to rescue anyone, not to prove anyone wrong. I simply liked it. Our wedding date was finally set for the 16th day of the 12th month the following year, exactly one day after the date on which I had once been meant to die. On the night before the wedding, Mother sat beside me and combed my hair. Suddenly she asked, Are you afraid? I thought for a long time. Yes, she paused. I smiled. How could anyone marry without being a little afraid? What if he becomes unbearably annoying after the wedding? Brother's voice came through the door. He is already unbearably annoying. I whipped around. Shen Huai-jin. Silence outside. Mother laughed until she could hardly breathe. I laughed too. When the laughter faded, I said softly, But I am not afraid of tomorrow. Mother tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. Then that is enough. That night. I lay in bed. Snow fell beyond the window. It looked very much like the first night I arrived. Snow tapped softly against the paper panes. The brazier kept the room warm. Chingde dozed beside the footstool. I closed my eyes. No examination hall. No overturned carriage. No ledgers crushing the breath from anyone's chest. No empty ancestral hall. No thing. I slept until dawn. When I opened my eyes, the courtyard outside was already in uproar. Grandmother's voice was the loudest. Shen Huai-jin, I told you not to block the way. Brother sounded helpless. Grandmother, I only came to look once. You have looked at her for all these years. Is that not enough? Mother was checking the wedding robes nearby. Father had been cornered by the physician in the courtyard. My Lord Marquis, you must still take your medicine on time today. Father protested. My daughter is marrying today. The physician was unimpressed. And does your daughter's wedding release your lordship from possessing a body? A laugh burst out of me. Brother immediately tapped on the window. Awake? If you do not rise soon, Pei-Yun-jo will freeze outside and become a snow statue. I pulled back the bed curtains. Mother turned. Her eyes reddened at once. Grandmother scolded her for shedding tears on a joyful day, then turned her own face away first. Father remained outside the threshold and said only, There is no hurry, take your time. Brother was still muttering at the window, Do not put on the wrong shoes. The steps outside are slippery. I sat on the bed and suddenly could not speak. At first, I had always believed I was the one who entered the story and saved the family. Later, I realized that was not quite true. I had simply seen the cliff a little earlier than they did. Father was the one who chose to stop. Brother was the one who ended his betrothal. Mother closed her own dowry ledger. Grandmother ordered the third brick lifted with her own hands, and on the 15th day of the 12th month, the day I had feared more than any other, they had remained outside my door and endured every watch of the night with me. I was still thinking when brother called again, "Shen Jiwei, are you getting up or not?" Every tender feeling vanished. I shouted toward the window, "Say that once more, and I will refuse to marry today." The courtyard went silent. Then grandmother snapped at him. "Why are you hurrying her?" Brother protested. "I only said one thing." Mother said, "Go outside," father added. "Huaijin!" Brother fell completely silent. I sat inside laughing so hard my shoulders shook. As Qingde helped me dress, she whispered, "Young master is truly pitiful today. He deserves it." When everything was finally ready, Mother took my hand. Slowly, I nodded. Snow was falling as I stepped out of the courtyard. Pei Yanzhou stood beneath the covered walk. A thin layer of white already settled across his shoulders. Through the red bridal veil, I could not see him clearly, only a familiar figure. Before entering the bridal sedan, I suddenly remembered something. Pei Yanzhou. "Where is this year's?" He paused. "This year's what?" "Osmanthus candy." Behind me, brother made a soft sound of disgust. Grandmother immediately scolded him. "They are getting married. What are you sour about?" The whole courtyard burst into laughter. Pei Yanzhou laughed too. "It is in the bridal chamber. You promised one box every year." I did not forget. I lowered my head and smiled. The snow was the same snow. The Marquise's residence was the same residence. Inside the ancestral hall, the third stone brick had already been laid back into place. But this time, father was here, mother was here, grandmother was here, brother was here too. Not one person was missing. Just before the sedan curtain fell, I heard Shen Huaijin call, "Jie Wei." I turned. Through the veil, I could not make out his face. I only heard him say, "If you are unhappy, come home." My nose stung at once. Before I could answer, Pei Yanzhou said from beside the sedan, "Young Master Shen, I am still standing here." Brother replied coldly, "That was precisely why I said it aloud." The tears in my eyes vanished at once. Excellent. On the first day of my marriage, the two men had already begun quarreling. I climbed into the sedan and suddenly thought the years ahead would probably be very lively. Outside, Qingde reminded me softly, "My lady, the osmanthus candy." I laughed. I know. This time I finally dared believe it. I truly had a future. And that future would not contain only dreams, ledgers, and desperate attempts to change fate. It would hold a medicine shop that belonged to me. A box of osmanthus candy every 12th month. A sharp-tongued man who nevertheless listened until I had finished speaking. And a family who would never learn not to eavesdrop, but who would crowd outside my door and keep watch whenever I was most afraid. Most important of all, this time, when I thought of saving my whole family, I had finally remembered that I belonged inside those words too. The story ends with snow on a wedding day, a box of osmanthus candy waiting in the bridal chamber, and a woman stepping into a future that was supposed to end before it began. It is warm, it is funny, and it hides one of the truest things I've seen in a transmigration story. You were never supposed to save everyone alone. The setup is classic. A modern soul wakes up in a doomed family with knowledge of the future, ready to be the hidden hero. She'll carry the burden silently and pull them back from the edge. But the family refuses to let her. They've been listening at her door. They hear her dream talk and act before she can warn them. Father resigns, brother breaks the engagement. Grandmother digs up the hidden deed. The story takes the lone heroine trope and says, "Gently number not this time." That is the core. Survival was never meant to be solitary. The original Shen Jiwei died because she kept saying, "I am fine." The new Shen Jiwei doesn't gain superpowers. Her first act is simply saying, "I cannot go today." Her second is saying, "I am not fine." It sounds small, but that is the entire difference. When she finally tells the truth about her pain, the people around her finally have something real to respond to. And they respond with everything they have. The family's eavesdropping isn't an invasion of privacy. It is attention. It is the couch outside her door with a thick blanket and a hand warmer. It is Father saying, if you dream again, there is no need to be afraid. It is Grandmother admitting, I called you here to admit my own mistake. The story doesn't turn them into perfect people. Second uncle still makes bad decisions. Grandmother still softens. But they stop letting the person carrying the most guilt carry everyone's consequences. That is the difference between love and entanglement. Love can say, I am afraid for you, but I will not sign your debts. Love can even say, if you are unhappy, come home. While the new husband is standing right there and Pei Yanzhou fits perfectly. He doesn't rescue her either. He teaches her to read contracts. He says, I can tell you where the weakness lies, but the shop is not mine. You decide how to repair it. When she asks if he is afraid, she'll refuse him later. He says, being afraid is one matter. Whether I respect your answer is another. That is not fairy tale passion. That is love with respect. The real victory isn't avoiding death. It is that on the day she was supposed to die, she does nothing heroic, she rests. She drinks her medicine, she tells someone when something hurts, and the family stays outside through every watch of the night. That is what it looks like to be saved by people who love you. Not with swords and schemes, but with warm tea, fresh medicine, and the refusal to leave you alone in the dark. One question for you. Who is standing outside your door? The people who stay close when you are afraid, who hear the things you mutter in your sleep, who would rather lose sleep than let you face the worst watch alone. And what would happen if you stopped trying to save them all by yourself and let them save you back? Tell me in the comments. I am Xiao Yu Mei. Every nightmare, find someone listening. May every hidden brick be lifted before it is too late. And may you never ever forget that you belong inside the words, save the family too. See you in the next story.